I want to talk briefly about certain big businesses that are now sponsoring esports teams. So, this is huge because, first off, for a lot of esports players who play games like League of Legends, they are cheering because they're being acknowledged. And the part that I want to highlight that's huge that no one really realizes is that the big ones that are sponsoring some of the bigger teams in esports like League of Legends, it's huge because I really know the history of these businesses and it's just magical. So let's talk a little bit about this and then we'll go back to the whole esports discussion. So, two of the big businesses that I am really excited about that have now made sponsorship deals with uh, some of the top teams in League of Legends esports gaming is GEICO and Coca Cola. Now, again, I just want to emphasize how huge this is for esports because, first off, it's getting bigger and bigger, and some people say, including like the multi-millionaire entrepreneur Gary Vaynerchuk, he says that in about 50 years, uh, esports will be bigger than natural sports, as in football, soccer, basketball. And for a lot of gamers, they're cheering about this, and a lot of them are trying to get like this to be recognized as a professional thing. And if you don't think it is, just take a look at the most recent competitive game. I think the next one is. I mean, they happen like almost every week, but if you look at them, I mean, it's really professional. It's high end. Everyone's in suits or, partial suits, and there's all sorts of camera work, very expensive cameras, 360-degree angles coming in with casters arguing, analyzing. They have literally like TV screens where they're drawing out the plays, just like in regular sports. It's gotten very high end because there is a market for it. And every year it's growing. It's still a new sport. Let's take League of Legends, for instance. It's been around for about 5 years. And personally, for me, I've played it almost since the start, around season two. Um, Seasons are pretty much every year. So it started about 5 years ago. And I've kind of dropped off because I've played thousands of games and it's kind of gotten boring for me. However, it's pretty much grown every single year. Every year, millions of people watch, and every year, more people watch the final World Championship. I think about 3+ million people tuned in for the World Championship uh, that happened very recently, and it keeps growing. So it's like a global thing because you can watch for free online, and it's just huge because it's very different because the players um, they can practice and stream for the entire day. Sometimes they go 12 hours a day, and they have a very one-to-one interaction with the viewers. So it's kind of like social media on steroids. So again, it's not this isn't going to be a debate about whether it's actually a sport or not. I think it's like I would say it's like it's a mixture. It's a hybrid, kind of like chess. Chess isn't considered a sport, but it's very strategic, and the top players can make a lot of money in chess. So it's kind of like a hybrid between those two. So for whatever reason, I just talked about the esports stuff first, even though I said I talk about it second. So now that that's done, let's get back to Geico and Coca Cola. These are huge because Geico and Coca Cola, it's very, very funny because most people don't realize this, but uh, they're one of their majority shareholders is a company called Berkshire Hathaway, which the chairman of is someone called Warren Buffett. Now, for many, many years of my life, the majority of my life, um, I didn't know or care who Warren Buffett was. And occasionally, I think I looked him up because he was referenced. I remember the very first time, it was so random. I asked someone, who's the richest person in the world? And they mentioned Warren Buffett. And this was when I was very young. And I remember occasionally looking this person up, and just being overwhelmed and confused about what he does. Like, how did he make his money? How can I make that money? And it was just very confusing. This man owns all these subsidiary companies, da da da. And then quite recently, in the last few years, when I just got into business and self-development in just the right way, and I stumbled across Warren Buffett's speeches and interviews, it just made so much sense. And then I just got introduced to very good biographies about how he did his thing and documentaries, and it's much simpler than Wikipedia makes it out to be. The point of that story, and that's in a nutshell, it's a much longer story, but the point of it is, um, he is an incredible guy. He's taught me a lot of life lessons beyond just business and making money, about treating others and other things, being ethical. And I just find him an incredible person. And what's incredible about him is that he has self-declared himself to be like the farthest person from technology and all that stuff. Bill Gates tried to get him to invest in Microsoft. He's like, no, I don't invest in anything I don't understand. And I mean, he's in his 80s. You can't blame this guy. But he's so lighthearted, so cheerful. He loves life, and he's so giving and warm. And the point of this all is that I find it very funny that, two of the businesses that are part of Warren Buffett's ownership, they're on the forefront of, getting into this social media stuff. I've seen Coca-Cola be one of the first big companies to start sponsoring big YouTubers like Superwoman. And now I'm seeing big companies like GEICO come in and sponsor the top, most well-known, most strategic uh, teams, probably the best team to sponsor in League of Legends, which is Team Solo Mid. And I just find that incredibly interesting, and uh, I ponder as to why and how that occurred. And I think the whole thing about it is that, um, how can they figure this out? And I think it's because they have incredible teams, and they understand a certain element of good business, which is that, sure, you shouldn't waste money, and you should keep your budget in check so you're not just wasting money. But at the same time, you have to realize that there's new enterprising technologies and new things that are coming out. You have to recognize that and test. And that's exactly what um, they did with Team Solo Mid and League of Legends and esports. They tested. Geico came in, they did a year-long test of test sponsorship with the most strategic, well-known team in TSM, in League of Legends, which was TSM, and it worked out very well. They got a very positive return from that in terms of money made, and now they're moving forward with an official partnership. And I just think it incredible because a lot of people, they're scared to even try it out, and I think that's foolish. Sometimes you can do a small test, and the downside is close to nothing, but the potential upside is incredible. Rather than just be scared of the future, um, I think they've done something incredible. And to see, um, two companies owned by Warren Buffett, who, is someone who's, you know, he's not scared of new technology, but he's simply, uh, he's not the most tech savvy guy. And I find it interesting that out of all the businesses out there, he understands to move forward. Now, was it him? No, it was, you know, probably people much lower down, not really lower down, probably senior level marketing people in those businesses. But I find that incredibly important and useful. And I mean, if you look to history, if you look to business history, I think the best businesses have always kind of been this way. Walmart, the guy behind Walmart, Sam Walton, when he grew it from one store to uh, thousands of stores all across the world, one of the ways he did it was he was on top of technology. And this was a guy who was old fashioned. He was in Midwest. And he did it by recognizing these satellites and all this new technology and communication that was being invented. And he was like, I'm going to be on the forefront of that because it could be of great use in the future. And turned out it was, because 10 years later, he was 10 years ahead of his competitors in terms of technology. And he used satellites to communicate instantly with all his store managers and everyone else and all his employees throughout all his locations, whereas his competitors couldn't do that because they hadn't set in the infrastructure for technology. So, my recommended reading is Made in America by Sam Walton. It's a great book on business advice. And I just think it's an exciting time. I mean, what a time to be alive. Better now than 500 years ago when, you lived until you were 30 or 40 years old and you died from all sorts of illnesses and diseases like polio that can now just be cured because we've developed those things. And I mean, look at the incredible stuff that technology has brought. I mean, sure, it's brought bad stuff too, but it's brought some good stuff as well. That's all I gotta say, and it's an incredible time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video.